It's week 8 of the Premier League show. This is the results show, and let's go through the matches. I'm going to start at the King Power Stadium. Leicester against Everton. Everton looking extremely strong this term with their new coach Marco Silva. They got off to a great start, and on 7 minutes, following some very neat work from the Brazilian Bernard, forced Schmeichel to palm the ball away. But unfortunately, it landed right at Richarlison's feet, and he steered the ball into an empty net. That was 1-0. The Brazilians are looking good for Everton. It took 33 minutes for Leicester to equalise through Pereira. This was after he went on a long solo run from inside his own half and managed to interchange with Iheanacho and then slotted the ball past the diving Pickford. So it was 1-1 at the break. However, I have to say that Leicester were quite fortunate. After the break, Everton continued to dominate the possession. Leicester looking useful on the break, I might add. But on 77 minutes, Sigurdsson did one of those Johan Cruyff twirls and then connected and hit a sweet strike into the top corner from 25 yards. That was on 77 minutes. In between those goals, Wes Morgan received a second yellow card and was red carded in 63. Both challenges were really quite clumsy, and one has to ask, is he really now good enough to partner Morgan in defence? So the Toffees got the win 2-1. Now to Wembley. Spurs coming off that heavy defeat to Barcelona, entertained Cardiff. Well, it wasn't much of a game, and after 8 minutes, Dyer tapped in a loose ball inside the box with the defence looking all at sea. So Spurs went 1-up. After that, it really wasn't much of a spectacle. Cardiff fought hard, but they lacked quality, certainly up front, and Spurs did just about enough to get the result. Now to Vicarage Road, high-flying Watford entertaining the equally impressive Bournemouth. Well, this match really didn't ever take off as far as Watford was concerned. After 14 minutes, a swift break down the left and King crossed the ball brilliantly. The ball was brilliantly saved by Foster. However, Brooks latched onto the follow-up and swept it into the net. That was 1-0 Bournemouth. And it wasn't long before Capasali, in an effort to thwart King, brought him down in the box, received a second yellow, so he was off, and King converted the penalty to make it 2-0. And right on half-time, King added a third. And so it was 3-0 to Bournemouth at the break. Well, Watford really didn't recover, and having 10 men didn't help. They went a further goal behind on 47 from the alert Wilson, and that was it was all over after that. An excellent performance by the Cherries, and they are now 6th. Remarkable. Eddie Howe said they could play better. Well, Watford, they've fallen apart the last couple of weeks, and today they were guilty of ill discipline, going down to 10 so early. So the coach needs to rectify that. Let's move on then, and we're going to Crystal Palace versus Wolves. Palace have been out of sorts the last couple of weeks, and they look pretty out of sorts again. They lost to a solitary goal scored by Doherty on 56 minutes. It was good work by Jimenez and a shot that by Doherty squeezed in at the near post with Henderson looking wanting. He really should have saved that. Two great saves from Patricio down the other end thwarted Palace's attacking instinct. And Nuno Espirito Santo was jubilant with another win. Wolves are up to 7th now, I believe. So to Turf Moor, Burnley entertaining one of the bottom 3 sides, Huddersfield. This looked a home win on paper, but things don't work out quite like they do on paper. Vokes put Burnley ahead from a header on 20 minutes. But after half-time, Huddersfield, who were certainly holding their own, they managed an equaliser from Schindler on 66 to level things up. After that, it really ended as a contest. So 1 each it was. A deserved point for Wagner's men. Right, so let's look at the late clash on Saturday between Manchester United and Newcastle. Now, Manchester United were, to say the least, in need of a wing, possibly to save Mourinho's job, although I didn't believe that hogwash. I thought it was all paper talk. And once we got underway, the United team looked like frightened rabbits in headlights. And Kennedy opened the scoring for the Magpies on 7, and remarkably, the Japanese Muto made it 2-0 with the United defence looking more like statues. So it was 2-0 for Newcastle. Well, the whole Trafford faithful were getting more and more restless, and we reached half-time. By that stage, Mourinho had already taken Bayo off after 19 minutes, and De Gea had made a great save on 35 to keep it to 2. Mata was introduced. Rashford had already missed a couple of sitters, and he threw on Sanchez as well. And then we had a breakthrough on 70 minutes. A free kick just outside the area, and a tremendous curled left foot shot by Mata hit the roof of the net, and Old Trafford exploded. After that, Newcastle retreated to their penalty area and desperately tried to keep them out. Unfortunately, on 76 minutes, Martial grabbed the equaliser, and then amazingly, in added time from a cross, Sanchez scored the winner. And the result was the chance of Mourinho right around the Old Trafford pitch as he and the team took in the applause. This was really a get out of jail for the team and Mourinho. So United off the hook as we go into the international break. However, there are still a number of questions that need to be addressed. To Sunday's matches. We got started at Craven Cottage. Arsenal were the visitors, and Arsenal have been improving week by week. The first half was pretty balanced, well balanced. Fulham were holding their own. Arsenal was starting to spray the ball around. They were without Ozil. He'd got some bug, back spasm we were told, and Aaron Ramsey, who's had a problem with a contract negotiation recently, he was on the bench. Welbeck started up front. So anyway, after the first 20 odd minutes it looked pretty even, but then on 29 minutes we saw a break down the left by the increasingly influential Iwobi, who delicately nicked the ball to Monreal, who got to the byline, pulled the ball back to Lacazette, and he turned on a sixpence and hit a beautiful strike from inside the post. So that was 1-0 to the Gunners. To be fair, Fulham didn't drop their heads, and they were rewarded. They were rewarded a minute before the break when some nice interplay put through Schürrle, the German, and he delightfully chipped the ball over the Arsenal keeper, so it was 1 each at the break. Second half then, and it didn't take very long for Arsenal to restore their lead. This time, Lacazette got the ball just outside the box. Again, he turned excellently and stole a yard on the defender, and then hit another shot inside that right corner post. It caught the goalie by surprise, and they were behind again, Fulham, 2-1. Well, after that, Ramsey came on, and no sooner had he arrived as he was on the end of a beautiful team move with a delicate flick with his back foot on the edge of the 6-yard box, and that was 3-1. By this stage, Aubameyang was on as well, and he had a big impact in the last quarter of the game. On 79 minutes, he scored a goal similar to Lacazette's first by making some space on the turn, and he then compounded Fulham's misery and Bettinelli's, the goalkeeper, by hitting their fifth in added time. I was really impressed with Arsenal in this match. Their performance reminded me of some of those gem-like displays under Wenger a few years back, and this Emery has certainly got them ticking. The combination of Lacazette and Aubameyang is working a treat, and things look very bright for them. Okay, now Fulham, well, they are naive defensively, and as I think I've said before, that they've got to tighten up, and they've got to tighten up very quickly. On to St Mary's now. Southampton at home to Chelsea, and it became evident really from the first minute that Southampton were almost terrified of the Chelsea front three, and conceded territory and allowed Chelsea to play the game from inside Southampton's half. There was no pressing, and Luis and Alonso, with able support from Hazard and Barclay, took advantage of this and dominated possession. Southampton hardly ventured into Chelsea's half in the first half hour, and although chances were half chances, eventually on the half hour, Hazard etched out a chance from a fine pass from Bradley, Bardley, after he dispossessed Southampton in their half, and Hazard converted. That was 1-0. Now, Barkley was increasingly becoming influential in this game, and he got his own goal on 57 after Giroud, who led the line superbly, volleyed the ball across goal for Barkley to tap it in from 2 yards. Now, Giroud was replaced by Morata, and Morata, who's been a little bit short of goals, he eventually got the third in injury time, chipping over McCarthy in Saints' goal. It was a thoroughly comprehensive 3-0 win to Chelsea. Hughes had to admit that his side showed too much respect, and as a result they got absolutely no momentum. Problems for Mark Hughes. Now, the last game of the weekend before the international break was Liverpool at home to Man City. We were all expecting a terrific contest from two attacking sides, and unfortunately we got the opposite. We got two defences who were cautious, to say the least, but very cute at chasing and pressing the attacking menaces on both sides. Liverpool's three, Firmino, Mane and Salah, hardly got a chance, and when they did, they were firing blanks. Salah is still well below his best. City's midfield provided little for Aguero, and it was no surprise that we got to minute 85 with the match scoreless. However, then Sane had come on as a sub. He managed to cause Van Dijk some problems, and the resulting penalty kick, amazingly, Mahrez stepped forward to take it and then blasted the ball high over the bar. So that was it. 0-0. Now, there was a game on Friday which I often forget about, so let's briefly say Brighton beat West Ham 1-0. Glenn Murphy got the only goal again. They just about deserve it. West Ham a little bit disappointing after their rampaging display against the Red Devils. So that's it. Goal of the week, I'm going to give it to Lacazette's first. He is showing how classy he is.